Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake of
technology increased, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Master Connector Show. I'm Rob Genovesi. Hope you're coming at us every week here on Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we always have a great show. We always have great guests lined up because we want to bring to you people who are making things happen, people who are influencing others to raise up their game, to level up in what they do. And we're bringing people from all different industries. The story for the Master Connector Show is Steve and I, go back about 27 years or so. And it's funny because it's the Master Connector Show. And the cool part of that is Steve and I, when we both started out in business, Steve started out in business before I did. But when we met 27 years ago, we're both introverted people. We both were not used to talking to people. And although Steve probably had a leg up, I was scared to death. I was not connecting with people. I didn't even know how to talk. Literally couldn't have a conversation. I remember being in a store one day and walking through the aisles, and I was probably around 18, 19 years old. And it should be the most, it's supposed to be the greatest time of your life. You're supposed to be the most social. And I saw somebody I knew from high school, and I ran the other way, man. Because I thought, I got to talk to this person beyond, hey, the New York nod, sup. I didn't know what to say. I was scared to death. But Steve and I came together through business, had similar mentors and coaches. And the interesting part is today we're both master connectors. He is the master connector, but I've mastered the art of connection as much as you can, but I'm improving all the time. Building relationships, building our audience. Today we both rely heavily on networking and meeting new people and bringing people together. And that's the purpose of the show, is connections, bringing people together. So we are two former shy guys, and obviously we're not shy anymore. We're still introverted, but we're not shy, and we want to talk to everybody. We want you to be in the comments. We want you to be following this page. Go to the Master Connector Show page, like the page, follow the page, because you want to be aware of every time we come out with a new one. You don't want to miss this stuff, because I'm telling you, bringing the cream of the crop here. But let me bring him to the stage, the Master Connector himself, Mr. Steve Spiro. Hey, what's up, Steve?
What's going on, Robbie G? How you doing, sir? Good to see you.
Man.
Hey, the only leg up that I think I came to the table was with a roundhouse kick to the head, right? Because martial arts background. I wouldn't say I had a leg up on you at all, man. We have a lot of similarities. It's been a wild journey, but yeah, I appreciate the kind words, and it's been wild seeing you evolve as an amazing man and a family man and business professional, and what you're doing in the branding world. It's pretty cool. So
just getting started, right, pal?
Just getting started. So very blessed. But what's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And as Rob said, get in the comments, man. Get in there. We are a community of LinkedIn participants, not LinkedIn lurkers. So get in there. Tell us where you're from, the city, the state, the country. Write in what you do, because we encourage people that are in the comments to connect with each other, right? So I see my man Hopton. I saw him the other day live and direct at a networking event. Great seeing you, sir. Looking forward to connecting. I know we have a Zoom call at some point coming up, but anyway, it's all about connection, right? And we're going to have a great time talking today on the topic today, right? So, in a world driven by networks and connections, the phrase opportunity happens by effectively connecting, takes center stage as a guiding principle for success. I mean, like Rob said, I was an introvert. So what happened was, in my case, I had a mentor. And like Rob said, we had a similar mentor, and he challenged me. He said, "Steve, you need to meet 3 strangers every day." And it's crazy, but today, over 18,000 contacts on my phone and 27,000 LinkedIn connections, and that's nothing compared to the guests we're going to have on here, which I think she told me backstage in the green room, about 280,000. All right, so that's I'm like a little pimple on on the butt of an elephant compared to that, like. But she's a beastette, and she's amazing. So, but we're gonna get to her in a moment. But listen, by the way, I want to welcome our amazing community member, which we're finally getting on a Zoom call. Looks like Yolanda Chin's in the house with us. Very excited to have you on here with us as well. And looks like Sharon Carter is joining us with here. And I know we've got a bunch of community people coming in from Melissa's community. So excited to have you all on here with us. But listen, we know that LinkedIn is a great place, and I know we're also simulcasting on YouTube and the Phoenix National Network as well. But LinkedIn in particular is a great place. But if you don't leverage those relationships, and number one, we were talking about, Rob and I was talking about being a brand builder. He is, right, and some people's vision of brand building is building out and growing it, but he's talking about building who you are and your brand. And maybe at some point we're going to talk about that and maybe even have a show centered on that. But as you're growing your community and growing your network, it's so important to make relationships because the more you get to know people, the more opportunities will come from that. And so important, right? As a rule of thumb for me, as I'm connecting with new people, I'm encouraging to get on a call with them. I want to get to know them. To me, how do you have someone in your network if you don't know anything about them? I think it's ridiculous, right? I mean, it's not about just growing your numbers. It's about relationships. Now, obviously, in Melissa's case, for 280,000, right? I mean, it's going to be hard for her to get to know everybody individually. But listen, we make efforts, we make attempts, and the more you get to know each other, the more you have the ability to collaborate. I've had some amazing opportunities, and Lenny, welcome to the broadcast here for sure. But I've had amazing, right? I mean, listen. If it wasn't for networking, of course, Rob and I wouldn't know each other. If it wasn't for networking, the show wouldn't be here because, actually Rob invited me to a networking group, eventually met Cameron. Cameron and I collaborated on the show, and we've had incredible guests on the show as a result of growing a network. So it's just been amazing. I've said this publicly. I don't mind saying it. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying, because I've been so others focused and been so authentic in how I speak, I've had the best 3 years of my life financially. It's just been amazing. And I believe it's because I've focused on other people and looked to build relationships and connect with people in a meaningful, deep way, not just on a superficial level. When I get on with calls with people, it's not about, first of all, ditch the pitch, right? Enough of this pitch slapping. That's with a P, right? Let's get into communication and let's learn about each other. And I want to know, tell me your story. And after you tell me your story, I'll tell you mine. And to me, it's like the two kids getting in the sandbox and playing together. So we're going to have a great show today. If you're ready for us to bring up our amazing guest, I'm going to have Rob G obviously introduce her, but I want you to type in, let's go, right in the comments. Again, we're here to participate. We're not here to lurk. So get in the comments and we're going to have a blast here. And Robbie G, I'll turn it to you, sir.
All right. Thanks, Steve. I am excited. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to get right into it. Melissa Grabiner has nearly 3 decades of experience in human resources and recruiting. She's a sought-after strategist and expert in talent acquisition. At Christine Matthews Consulting, Melissa works with venture capital-backed biotech and pharmaceutical startups to build out their talent acquisition functions and make key senior-level hires. She's won numerous awards for leading the highest-performing global HR teams and is closing in on, get this, 280,000 LinkedIn followers. Melissa has become well-known champion for job seekers across the globe. She's recognized by LinkedIn's influencer program as a top voice for both recruiting and job search strategies. Please welcome to the show, Melissa Grabiner. Hey, Melissa.
Hi. Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Steve, for having me on. I really appreciate it, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you on.
It is an honor to have you on here. You're like the LinkedIn queen here. So we're in the presence of royalty, with 280.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
No.
Worthy at all, for sure. But anyway, I know you're humble about it. And I know it's just something that, and maybe we'll get into some of that on how that all kind of came about. But yeah, we want to dive right into this because we have a lot of questions and we want to really, bless our viewers, our community with your presence. And so first, we want to talk about networking. I know when you and I spoke initially on our Zoom call, the big question was networking, and I think we talked about having fun networking and all that stuff. But so community, type in hashtag networking. So here's our question for you: why is networking crucial in today's professional landscape, and how can it open doors to opportunities?
Right. I actually post about this a lot on my LinkedIn page because I am a big believer in the power of networking. I have seen it happen with other people, and it certainly happened with myself. And I think with networking, I think it's not just about your professional life, but it could fall into your personal life and your personal relationships as well. And the first thing that comes to my mind regarding why networking is so crucial is for opportunities. So networking can absolutely open doors to opportunities that you might not have been aware of or privy to through any sort of like conventional means. So, for example, if someone is looking for a job, I always instruct job seekers when they reach out to me on LinkedIn is don't rely on job posts, rely on networking, because networking can allow for you to be privy to opportunities that might not be posted for a company. So there might be an organization that's looking to fill a position that maybe they're not publicly displaying that, but by the power of networking, this is a way for a job seeker to potentially find out what those opportunities are. And the other thing too with networking, which has really enriched my life, is when you interact with people from diverse backgrounds and industries, you learn about different perspectives and experiences and even other people's ideas. So throughout my career, I have been a very big proponent of networking, and I can't tell you how much I have learned and how much my knowledge has increased simply by meeting and forming relationships with other people. And the other thing, and I think this is really important for job seekers specifically, is that when you have a big network, it allows you to have a support system. And looking for a job could be stressful, it could be lonely. And I say this because I speak to job seekers all the time. But what really helps is having that support system. And that could be mentors, it could be peers, it can even be former colleagues. And these are people that can provide guidance or feedback or encouragement. And especially when someone's facing a challenging time, such as looking for a job, having that strong network can provide invaluable support and advice. So again, on LinkedIn, I post about this all the time. I absolutely feel that the power of networking is critical. It's actually how I found my prior job was through LinkedIn, through networking. And so having been through this before and having coached, hundreds of job seekers, many come back to me and say, thank you so much for talking about networking. I actually found a job through that method. And that to me is incredibly rewarding.
Melissa, I just got to ask because I spent 25 years in corporate before I went out on my own. And like I was saying in the beginning of this show, I was very introverted, still am, but very shy, and didn't have a lot of networking skills because I guess in that world maybe I felt like I didn't need it because I think I fell into the trap that a lot of people fall into, and that's I have a job now, and they don't worry about it until they need to find the next job. In which case, if you don't have a network to tap into, you got a problem. And, what would you say to people who are kind of resting on their laurels, right? Because they say the hardest time to find a job is when you absolutely need one. What would you say to people who are kind of in that role and thinking, I'm kind of safe, I'll worry about it when it happens?
No, I'm so glad you asked me this question, Rob. And I actually posted about this recently on my LinkedIn page. Everybody should always plan for A, B, and C. And I think a lot of the times the people that are laid off are the ones that didn't see it coming. And if there's anything that we have learned in the past year, specifically the past 6 months, is that no one is immune from layoffs. I have senior vice presidents reaching out to me on LinkedIn telling me they were laid off and they have no idea what to do. I've talked to people that have been at their company for 20 years and assumed that they would have their the rest of their career at this company, and all of a sudden they're faced with a layoff. And the best time, without question, to look for a job is when you have a job. Because what happens a lot when people all of a sudden are faced with unemployment, they're scrambling. They don't have a resume put together. They don't have a LinkedIn profile that's optimized. And the other thing I post about a lot on LinkedIn is always have your resume fully ready to go at any time, and always have your LinkedIn profile optimized while being active on the LinkedIn platform. I think what a lot of job seekers do, which is a big miss, is they look for jobs by going on LinkedIn or Indeed or some of those other sites, and they apply to jobs that are posted. And then maybe every 30 minutes, they refresh their page, hoping that new jobs pop up. I read an article recently that only 6% of job seekers actually find a job through a job posting. And someone as myself, who's been a recruiter for many, many years, I can absolutely attest this to be true. There are some jobs that have over 1,000 applicants. And if I personally saw a job posting with 1,000 applicants, I would not be applying for that job because it's a numbers game. And it's better to take that time instead of applying. It's better to go ahead and network with people that are either in your field, either at the companies that you're looking to work for. The more you can get your name out there, the better place you're going to be as it comes to a job search. But again, what I would suggest to everyone, even those people that think they're absolutely safe, no one is safe. And I don't say this to provide a scare tactic. I say this because this is based on what I see going on in the marketplace and the hundreds of messages I get a week from job seekers all over the world in pure panic mode because they were laid off and had no idea it was coming. So you don't want to scramble. You always want to be prepared.
I'm sorry.
I heard
jump in here one more time because what Melissa just said, like I don't want people to face what I faced. Now, here's the thing. My first layoff in 2013, I was with a company for 14 years. I was number 2 at the company, and I was basically the right-hand person to the president. When I got laid off, by that time, I had developed skills. Now, I said I started out, I didn't have skills, but by that time, I had leadership skills. I had management skills. I was managing creative teams. I was a good speaker. I could speak on the fly. Like, I had the skills. I developed confidence. I could talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime, which is some of the things that Steve taught me along the way because I was scared to death. But I learned how to do that. Didn't matter what station anybody held in life, I could talk to them. When I got laid off, I heard it takes 6 months. Now, this is 2013. It takes 6 months to find a job, the average length of time. I said to myself, I'll have one in 3 months. Why? I had the skills. And what I did was what not most people do. Like you said, they check the post and they refresh. Melissa, I reached out to every recruiter I could find. I would travel into New York City to meet with career coaches. I was emailing family, friends, associates, past associates. I was not big on LinkedIn at the time, but I was getting to know it. I was actually calling people on the phone. Like, I was hitting the pavement, and I treated it like a full-time job.
Yeah.
Time it took me to get my next job, 6 months almost to the day, and I was hammering it.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who are.
Yeah, he's breaking up, right, Melissa? It's not just me, right? Yeah.
No, he's breaking up. Oh, there he
Yeah,
goes.
let me just say this though. I'll jump in here, Rob. Maybe you can fix your bandwidth there. But yeah, what I've learned is that job security is like Biggie Small. It's like an oxymoron. It's like Biggie Smalls and Jumbo Shrimp. It's just doesn't exist today. So if you're banking on your job, you know, it's not the same as it was in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. You don't see people at companies for 30 years anymore. It just doesn't happen. But I want to just shout out a few people who made some comments here real quick. So because we do love a participation, right? Networking is like traveling. The more you do it, the better you become at it. Never heard that expression. I like that though. That's good hope and real good perspective. But the concept is smart for sure. As they say, it goes mostly who you know, not what you know. Yeah, of course,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's for sure. For sure. And then Hopton says most jobs are filled before they're advertised. Okay, interesting. And then Ari said the best time to plant a tree for shade is 20 years ago. I heard this recently again. Best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the next best time is to plant it now, right? So you know, do something now. If you haven't done it 20 years ago, do it now, right? Don't wait.
Yeah, Steve.
And then go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
I wanted to share with all of you what happened with
Please.
me and the power of networking, because I think I'm a prime example. I worked at a company for 18 years, and I thought that I would be spending my entire career at this organization.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't turn out to be the case because I was laid off after 18 years, and I was in pure panic mode, to be honest. I didn't have a resume put together. Never even occurred to me that I would be in this situation. So I took a couple days off. I got my thoughts together, put a game plan in place. And what I did was I literally took out a piece of paper and wrote down everybody who I knew, including family and friends, former colleagues. Because what happens with networking is it's not just those people, but those people know other people. And I literally went down the list and I reached out to every single person letting them know that I was laid off from my job and I was looking for a new opportunity. Well, it turns out that one of the gentlemen that I reached out to was someone who worked for me years ago as a consultant on my team. He was a recruiting consultant. And I called him up and I said, Mark, I am no longer at my company and I'm looking for a new role. Do you happen to know of anything in the marketplace? And he said, actually, yes, my company is hiring consulting recruiters. Are you interested? So by that time I had my resume, I sent it to him. 2 weeks later, I had a job offer in hand. And the reason I'm sharing the story is because if I didn't network with him and contact him as someone who was in my network, I never would have known about this opportunity because the company never posted it publicly. But my friend, my former colleague, knew about it because he actually was a recruiter at the company. So this story is a perfect example of the power of networking and why it is so imperative in a job search to go ahead and reach out to everybody you know. And quite frankly, what I came to realize, and I think this is the way with the majority of people, is that we want to help other people. Most people want to help. So if the worst that can happen is you reach out to someone and either they don't respond or they say, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but at least you know you tried and at least you can check that box for that person. But if you don't put yourself out there, you never know what potential opportunity you may be missing out on.
No doubt about it. That's for sure. My favorite phrase, Melissa, is you never know, right? So when you connect with somebody, you just don't know who they know. You just don't know what businesses they're involved in. You just don't know. So important. I want to skip to a question, and maybe we could continue on the job seeker realm, or maybe not. Maybe just in general, because obviously not everyone on the call here is necessarily a job seeker, but certainly in the business world. So I want to community type in hashtag meaningful. And so here's the question, right, Melissa? In a world where networking events are abundant, what tips do you have for individuals to stand out and make meaningful connections rather than just exchanging business cards? What's your perspective?
Yeah, I think the number one thing people need to realize about networking is that it's a two-way street. And I'm mentioning this because this is so imperative. Networking is not about what someone else could do for you. Networking is what you can also do for that person. So in order to build like authentic and genuine and lasting relationships, the conversation needs to focus on what can I do for you? Is there anything, anyone in my network I can connect you with? Is there anything I can do to help you? Whether it's, again, if someone's looking for a job, or maybe someone wants to have an introduction to someone else. So networking is not, take. It's a give and a take and a give and a take. And I think part of the beauty of networking is that there are so many endless possibilities if someone is just willing to open up themselves and get themselves out there. And the most, I think, looking back just on my professional journey and even what I do now with a lot of the networking that I do, is it's important to be genuine, be authentic with people, be true to yourself, express yourself, your feelings and your values to these individuals. And I think authenticity helps to foster trust and allows people to feel comfortable opening up to you. And I also think it's important that you demonstrate respect. So you want to always respect other people's opinions and times and boundaries, even if you don't necessarily agree with them. But if you demonstrate professionalism, it helps to build that rapport and the trust. And then actively listen to other people, because again, networking is not just about what you get from someone else, but it's what you can give them. So actively listen to others. It helps to demonstrate your authenticity and your professionalism. Give full attention to the person you're speaking with, maybe even validate their feelings, respond thoughtfully, and just maintain boundaries as well. So, you don't want to overshare things with other people. You don't want to talk things like politics and religion. I think those are big no-nos. You want to make it more professional. But don't talk about those things that are considered somewhat taboo subjects. And I would also say that follow up with individuals that you're networking with. Everyone is so busy and it's so easy to get caught up in your day-to-day, but maintaining those relationships over time is really the key. The gentleman that I reached out to when I was looking for a job, who ended up taking my resume, and that's how I found a job. Him and I have kept in touch over the years. So when I called him, it wasn't like he hadn't heard from me in 10 years. Him and I periodically, even like every, I don't know, 6-9 months would have a call and just touch base and catch up. It's important with networking that you maintain those relationships over time. And again, always asking those folks when you speak with them, if there's anything you can do for them, because if there's one takeaway that I can give regarding networking, again, it's always a two-way street.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, I mean, so many great nuggets there. Hopefully, community, you're taking notes. If you're, by the way, if you're watching this in the replay, type in hashtag replay in the comments. But yeah, that was amazing takeaways, and very much exactly why we're having you on the show here, because you're so aligned with exactly what we believe on, which is one of our pillars of our show is connecting authentically. Another pillar is being others focused, being a go-giver. Those are exactly what you're talking about, right? It's and being a good listener. I heard I think it was it I'm gonna Lenny, it looked like, I think he was talking about being an active listener, right? Active listening and calling that out, because you said that, right? But when you're talking to somebody, the better of a listener you are, reflecting back on what they say. Maybe don't just like take what they say and then start your own version of a conversation. Kind of maybe dig into what they're saying, right? And that's true active listening, right? Maybe they said something, dig in a little deeper on that, and maybe another layer on that one, right? And then people show that it shows people that you really care about them authentically, not some technique, right?
Right.
Well, this is awesome, and we're not even covering half of the questions, but one last thing I want to kind of talk about and as we're starting to get winding the show down real quick here, actually a little bit over that we want to be, but let's talk about overcome. So, community, type in hashtag overcome, and we're going to get into this last question here, and I'm not sure if Rob is here to help with that one, but so here's a question. All right, some people feel hesitant or shy in networking situation. What advice do you have for overcoming these barriers and approaching networking with confidence? And of course, we already kind of covered authenticity, but let's go with the confidence side of things.
Yeah, I think, the way I look at networking is that, to me, and I understand that not everyone is extroverted, not everyone is feeling comfortable putting themselves out there. I think overcoming shyness in networking, I think it can be challenging for some people, but if someone has the practice and the persistence, it's absolutely achievable. Whenever I have attended networking events, I always looked at it as striking up potential friendships with people, right? So not taking it so seriously, and you're just having a conversation, just two people having a conversation, getting to know each other. Maybe even if you are introverted and you are attending a networking event, or you are reaching out to someone, think about in preparation a few conversation starters, or perhaps even questions to break the ice. I think that can help alleviate anxiety and perhaps give you a sense of direction when you are interacting with others. And then again, practice those regularly. It's like, I think any skill, networking does become easier with practice. And I would ask people too is to challenge themselves to attend networking events, make those calls, send those messages on LinkedIn. Because the more you expose yourself to networking situations, I promise you, the more comfortable over time you will become. But again, with networking with me, I always viewed it as, listen, I'm going to put myself out there and introduce myself to this person, or send this person a message. And you never know, maybe it could strike up a friendship. And I'll tell you from my own experience on LinkedIn, from networking with so many people, I have made amazing friendships from people that we just started as a conversation, just as networking. I mean, I'm going to the Bulls game tomorrow night. I live in Chicago, with someone I met on LinkedIn. I mean, how amazing is that? And I've done LinkedIn live events and a ton of podcasts from networking on LinkedIn, either people networking with me networking with them. And it has evolved into this amazing, platform that I'm now able to do all of these really fun things, all because it stemmed from the power of networking.
No doubt. One thing I want to just leave the community before we ask you to give a best way to reach you, but think about it this way: instead of networking, think about making new friends.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone stresses when you think about making a new friend per se. It's just like, it's natural, it happens, and that's it. I mean, when you talk to the first person when you're in the playground when you were 6 years old, you weren't networking. You were just making a friend. You were just being friendly. And that's what, if you look at it that way, it takes the pressure off. And then just being others focused, not really going in there with an agenda, but saying, hey, how can it be a blessing? And then now that, to me, the pressure is off, and the confidence is there, because you're not going there with some kind of agenda that you have to do this or that, but you're going to help others. And I believe that's going to help you with your confidence. But we're pretty much out of time. We're actually at the third, half-hour point. It's crazy how amazing this was. But Melissa, if you can, just tell the community, we appreciate you big time. Tell the community best way to reach you, and then we're gonna ask you to go in the green room as we close it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So the best way to reach me is through LinkedIn. So if you haven't connected with me or followed me, I think that would be great. And then you can always send me a direct message. I get a lot of those. I respond to everybody, and I'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, again, really appreciate you. Hopefully one day we'll have you back up. We're just so blessed to have you on here, and we'll put you in the green room, and we'll look forward to having you on again. Thanks again for all your amazing wisdom and knowledge.
Thank you, Steve. My pleasure.
All right. Awesome stuff. Well, hey, Rob is having some technical difficulties, but this has been a great show, and we're just appreciative of you as community on the show here. Don't forget next week to tune in, episode 152. It's going to be on the 28th next week, same bad time, same bad channel. It's going to be Connect, Serve, and Ask with Clayton Hicks. It's going to be an amazing show. So make sure you go and grab the link. It's going to be somewhere where I'm sure we're planning on. There it goes. I'm putting it on there. I'm doing a couple jobs here, but it's all good, right? But make sure you get on the show and register for that event. It's going to be amazing. So, but listen, we're in a crazy world, right? We're in a world where there's a lot of hurting people, and there's a lot of isolation. And granted, it's not quite as bad as it was, in 2021 when COVID was heavy, but it certainly we're still feeling some of that, right? And there's still the wars going on and all sorts of crazy stuff, right? So, but it's our opportunity to uplift people, to be that light, right? And to reach out and connect with people. So make sure you're doing that, right? A big part of our pillar here is growing community and building connections. So make sure you're doing that, and be a blessing to other people. And I could tell you this from personal experience: the more I became others focused and reached out, the better I felt about me as a human, and the more isolated I felt, not so good. So make sure you reach out for people. I look forward to seeing you guys. Rob and I are really blessed to have you as a community. And stay tuned here for the video, and we'll see you guys next week. God bless. Be the light.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.